I apologize, I didn't have my microphone turned on. First item, always fun, celebrating success. And who do we have here? Rick. Thank you, Rick. Take it away.
Okay. So we're honoring one of our POA Rangers this evening. It's often kind of hard to come up with something special because it's customer service and taking care of the membership is what they're charged with doing. But Mark and a couple other guys really did go out of their way recently. It was actually back in the fall, but we've been delayed a little bit in giving this award. But on October 28th of last year, David Wright, who works in member services, received word from an angler that a boat in slip C27 at the marina was sinking. And David contacted Ranger Walker, who was off duty at the time, but if you know him, he's never really off duty. They got together and they worked through some confusion for quite a while on who the owner of this boat was. And finally they made contact with the person. In the meanwhile, Ranger Miller here kind of went ahead and worked on getting a handle on the situation himself. So he came to my house, grabbed a pump that I own, and went out to the location and pumped the boat down to keep it from sinking. The grateful owner soon arrived afterwards. Ranger Miller then noticed that a POA rental boat was also about to go under. I guess we'd had quite a bit of rain at that time. Trey was contacted, the marina manager, and was given the pump so that he could bail it out. So in both cases, Mark's quick action prevented some costly repairs to two vessels. And because of that, we want to recognize Mark with a Celebrating Success Award and a little gift certificate to go with that. So, thank you. And David Wright and Bob Walker will also be receiving awards, but they couldn't make it tonight.
Where's those boat owners? They should really.
Okay, thank you for that. As I say, it's always fun to do that. We have 6 board members here tonight, and we have 3 attending on Zoom. The next item up is the election committee. They will announce the board candidates and have a lottery drawing for their position on the ballot.
Can you hear me? I don't think so right now. How about now? Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Ritchell, and I'm the chairperson of the election committee. We met last Tuesday, and we took action to approve 5 candidates for the board. They are in alphabetical order: Mike Abb, Jerry Brown Jr., Mary Ann Bradley, Sheila Hayward, and Jason Lloyd. My purpose here this evening is to draw names out of this basket one at a time, and then I'll give them to her to verify that I didn't make up a name. It is exactly what it is that I read. She's your corporate secretary. I'm not, so it's important for her to know that. And the reason behind this is this will be the order in which their names will be listed on the ballot, and any communication about the election that references the candidates will be in that order. Okay? So the first name I'm drawing is Jason Lloyd. And the second name, Mary Ann Bradley. The third name is Jerry Brown Jr. The fourth name is Mike Abb. And of course, I'll read it off just to make sure that the name was in here. Sheila Hayward. Okay? And that is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, an executive session of the board was held on December 28th this past year, and the discussion related to personnel matters. The next item up is the approval of the minutes to December 16, 2021 Board of Directors regular meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve? Jerry Barron motions to approve. A second? JB seconds that. Are there any questions, corrections, additions? Not hearing any, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Next up, January 20th, a week ago, the board work session. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Jackie? Mike seconds. Any additions, corrections? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Next item on the agenda, the Joint Advisory Committee reports. Lakes is first up.
Matt was unable to make tonight's meeting, so he sent me a summary of the most recent Lakes Committee meeting. Boat registrations for the year were up by 10.7%. Most of the increases came from kayaks, canoes, and other non-motorized boats. Drawdown on Loch Lomond proceeds normally. It's going very well, and as of today, we're at exactly 4 feet, and Rick's team, which monitors the valve on a daily basis, has been able to maintain that level within 2 inches consistently, so that's great. The Lake Ann sinkhole will be filled soon at a cost of approximately $103,000. Additional work still needs to be done on the spillway. This is the sinkhole only. And then the Lakes Committee reviewed non-member events, and they approved the Metfield Fishing Derby and the June Kayak Demo Day. And that was the extent of the report from the Lakes Committee.
Thank you for that. Next up is the Recreation Committee. I believe Mr. Stockman is here to give us a brief synopsis of the meeting.
Good evening, folks. Chris Stockman here, as you said. So here's the highlights from our committee meeting earlier in the month. We did have 3 candidates come into our meeting for filling our 2 open positions, and the committee voted to bring in Cindy Thompson and Kathleen Coughlin. So these folks will be announced in February, and then likewise in February we'll ask the board to confirm these new folks to our committee. Going on to the amenity reports from the January period at Branchwood, it's just showing regular good usage, and we received some good feedback there from the fitness classes, and a small maintenance item was noted for the basketball court. Blowing Springs area, recreational area, that's all looking good, so nothing really to note there. A little bit light use with it being winter and all. Over at Tyree Park, all equipment seemed in good repair. The lake is down quite a bit. No issues were seen by the committee person with the ramp or lake access. Restrooms were locked, but the porta potty was clean. Over at Lake Avalon Park, all play areas and equipment look good and good repair, but the beach has shown a little bit of erosion. Rorden Hall Complex and tennis. By the mini golf course, there was some vandalization, but that's been since cleaned up and repaired by the staff. And the storage building and outdoor restrooms were involved with that, but they're all good now, so that's it for Rorden. Lake Ann Park, everything is in good order. Tanyard Creek, everything is in good order there. However, we did get some feedback that mountain bikers seem to be accessing the little sugar trails from that area. And it's important to note now that a lot of cars have bike trailers or hitch racks on them as a permanent part of their vehicle. So they could be there without any biking purposes in mind. But anyway, we sent out a note on social media to the local groups reminding them that it's not an official trailhead, but some signage is recommended in the tan-yard parking area for folks who are out of town or visiting, right, who just don't know. And then along the trail where the pedestrian trails, the walking trails meet the biking trails, it gets a little murky there as to where you can go, where you can't. So maybe some additional signage up there would be helpful. So that's it for Tanya Creek. London Park, everything's good there. There's a little bit of gravel washed up on the road. I'm sure we'll hit that at some time. And for new business at the meeting, we voted on the approval for public supported events. So these are events that are held for the benefit of our membership, but benefit also from the economic support of having the public, like the paddleboard class, you know. So the additional heads helps us fund the courses. So there is a number of activities here that the committee have voted and approved on. These include swim lessons and swim teams, paddleboard camp, the trail race at the Little Sugar Trails, and that's a running event, a spring and fall craft fair at Rorden, Cancer Challenge gun range charity event, high school shooting team events, the Poultry Federation event at the gun range, and finally the Bella Vista Police use of the gun range. I'm going to just hit on the POA staff reports that were given at our committee meeting. Tom Judson just articulated a bunch of stats. We've heard some of them already. He'll probably repeat them elsewhere. But activity card was up 13% versus 2020. Guest passes were up 51%. Golf rounds up 4.1%. Range buckets up 8.4%. And lot sales are up 71.9%. So I may be repeating that stuff, but it was mentioned in our meeting, so here we go again. John Urquhart reported that there's some light remodel work going on at the gun range. Joan Gablinski said fencing has order for Branchwood pickleball courts. Work is beginning on the Metfield tennis courts, including reorienting them north and south. And the Blowing Springs tiny cabins, they're installed now. They're there and looking good. And also work is beginning on Kingsdale and Metfield pool infrastructure projects. And finally, the marketing team, Kim Carlson, introduced a new person to the team, Eric Helverson, who is the new digital content manager for the North Star project and social media. And it was also mentioned that we need volunteers to help with training for North Star at some point in the near future. So that is the Recreation Committee meeting for January.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Chris.
Chris, I'm going to ask a question while you're still here. Because I received a call yesterday on the Metfield courts. I did drive by, didn't see a lot of activities. So is there a general time frame to have that work done before the peak season when it warms up, or do we know the time frame yet to reorient those and add a new one?
I don't know the exact timeline. I can check with Joan. Actually, what I'll do is I'll text her, and chances are she'll respond
Just thought I'd
quickly.
ask while you're here.
But
Okay.
I don't know that off the top of my head. I'd rather just go with I don't know as opposed to guessing.
Any other questions then, since I walked away so fast? All right, thanks.
That leaves us with golf. Jason Lloyd.
Hey everybody, Happy New Year. Jason Lloyd, Chairman of the Golf Committee. Our January 12th meeting, astonishing numbers for 2021. 172,681 rounds of golf were played in Bella Vista Golf Course. That was just absolutely amazing. Just short of 6,900 over last year, and we had a huge year last year. So golf continues to grow here in Bella Vista. The other interesting number, I don't see a bunch of handicaps going down, but range buckets are up over 4,700 over last year. There was almost 61,000 buckets of range balls hit on our driving ranges this last year. So it's awesome to see. Some spot repairs on the cart paths are going to start to begin on Dogwood, Kingswood, and Highlands. Really cool presentation. Dave Armstrong that represents the Future Cup, which it's a Ryder Cup type of tournament event that they have. I think they had 56 players this year, and they raised $5,000 for the POA Junior Golf Program and a new to golf program. It's called Operation 36, and if you want to learn how to play golf, You check it out because it's a really, really neat program that Daryl and his team's starting. With all of the supply chain challenges, I think all of us have been, if you go to the Walmart shelves, have noticed they've been empty, but Leslie Terry, or also known as LT, has done an amazing job keeping our pro shops in stock and with great merchandise, and her hard work has delivered a 48% increase in sales over last year. So way to go, LT. Highland's concrete driving range pad is being installed, and it's actually giving us more space on the grass, which was kind of cool. So that should be done, I think, by the end of this month or beginning of middle of next month. So they're wrapping that up. Our new golf cart lease just started, and carts are starting to arrive. So if you're going to play golf, be a little bit patient with the cart barns, because there might be a bunch of golf carts going in and out as you're there. The country club here will be closed February 7th through May 1st for repairs to the collars that were damaged last year from the weather. And last but not least, good news, the gold tee areas are getting redone. Our new plaques are in ahead of schedule, and they're starting to place the additional plaques across the courses, and they started with Highlands this week. Actually, Highlands was closed for 2 weeks for maintenance anyway, so they went ahead and started putting those additional plaques in. So, and USGA will be out to re-rate the courses for the men's and ladies for the gold tees. Our next meeting is February 9th, right here at 4 o'clock. Any questions? Nope. Thanks, guys.
I received a response back from Joan, and weather dependent, contractor event dependent, and COVID dependent. So she gave me every possible out. We'll be starting groundwork and pre-work in the next couple of weeks. I hope to have the course ready by early summer.
I think, Jason, would it be possible for Jerry and me to participate in that Learn How to Golf? Based on our handicaps, I think we could benefit. Okay, thank you for that. Next up is the financial report. Stacy, it's all yours.
All right, so as we kind of round out 2021, it's been a great year. Numbers are not final, so I'm going to start with that, saying we are not done. We are not audited. We are very preliminary, but I did not want to miss an opportunity to share kind of how we're ending up the year. So materially, I think we're there, but again, the numbers will probably change a little bit. So as you go through this, I really want you to focus on the year we've had, the people, everything we've accomplished, and everything that we've done, even with COVID. So anyway, Corinne's going to run the clicker for me. So revenue, water. So this is year-to-date consolidated. Water's up 136,000 greater than budget. Our RV park, 109,000. Resale of lots, 584,000. Membership transfer fees, 423,000. Legal settlements, 2 million. Food sales, BB Bar and Grill, 402,000. Lake Point, 102,000. Highlands Pub, 23,000. Guest green fees, 294,000, and cart rentals, 122,000. Overall revenue, we're ending up at a variance to budget of $5.6 million and a variance to last year of 5.3. Gross profit is up $5 million over budget and 4.9 over last year. Operating expenses, of course, are high. They're up $1 million, over $1.1 million to budget and $1 million to last year. But our EBITDA ended up at $4 million over budget and 3.9 over last year. Just an amazing year. So yes. So how did we hit the 4 million? Was it one department? Absolutely not. It took everybody. So this is just a snapshot of some of the areas and everybody who contributed to the $4 million. I'm not going to go through them all. You can go back and look at them, but you can just see that, you know, it was across the board. So it took everybody to get us there. So again, it was an outstanding year. Capital. So we always try to do kind of a capital update at the end of the year. So these are the 2021 projects that have not closed out. So we still have quite a few. The 3 blue ones in the middle are the water projects that have not closed yet. The ones in the green are the POA projects. So all of those have different anticipated completion dates in 2022. So if we talk about the loan, so the loan's another success story for me, I think, this year. The beginning balance was 2.9, and our ending balance is 2.5. As you can see, we consistently made payments throughout 2021 without borrowing from water at all, and we made a payment even in December. So It's been a great year. Additionally, we've made $116,000 in payments in 2021 over the budget commitment. So it was a great year on our loan to water. So who do you think had record-breaking year this year? So I noticed in the audience we have Tommy Lee standing there. So I'd ask Tommy to come here and join me because I think he needs some recognition. No, he was not, and he had no idea, so this was not. So let's talk about the restaurants. Highest annual revenue ever. All of our restaurants have a year-to-date 2021 positive EBITDA. All of our restaurants made money this year. First time ever. Yes, great job.
Fantastic.
So you can see revenue of $856,000, better than 2019. I use 2019 because that's the highest number we had prior to this year. First year ever overall positive EBITDA, $279,000 over 2019. And our Gear Garden brought in $442,000 and $21,000 in EBITDA.
I wish it brought in 400.
I know, sorry. You can see the revenue line over there. You can see where 2020 was. You can see where 21. You can see the red is EBITDA on the bottom, and you can see where the green came up and where we started making money. So an outstanding year for the restaurants. So if we look at Lake Point, the revenue on the left, you can see 2017, the year we opened, 2018, 2019, 2020's COVID, 2021 just had an amazing year. EBITDA, 17, 18, 19 lost money, 2021 he made money. BV Bar and Grill, EBITDA is on the left. 18, 19, and 20 they lost money, came in 2021 and made money. Revenue's the same way, 18, 19, and 20. You can see how we dipped down in 20 again due to COVID, and 21 they just came back. Even with the pandemic this year, they came back. And EBITDA for the pub, you can see where they lost money the last 4 years, and they got it turned around in 21. 17, 18, 19 revenue, and then you can see what the revenue looks like in 21. I mean, just a huge success story for the restaurants. So again, congratulations, Tommy.
Thank you.
So who else is in that category? Golf. Highest annual revenue ever for our pro shop and our merchandise sales. All our pro shops had merchandise sales that were greater than budget in previous year, totaling $672,000 in 2021. Member green fees at the Country Club in Kingsdale were greater than budget in previous year, totaling $168,000 and $236,000. Guest green fees at all locations were greater than budget in previous year, over $1 million. And our golf cart rentals at all locations were greater than budget in previous year, totaling $800,000. Again, I put a 5-year look back in there. 2017, they were at $469,000. 2021, they're over $600,000. So just an amazing year in our pro shops. So other record-breaking activities that we saw this year: water, new service connections. Again, we kind of went back 5 years because that's about how far we could get back, and it made sense. 2017, our water connections were at 291,000. 2021, we're at 911, and it was $11,000 better than last year. Our RV park, in 2017, they were at 130,000. In 2021, they're at 344,000, so and over $120,000 better from last year. Member transfer fees capped $1 million this year, over $1 million. 2017, they're at 467, and they're 300,000 better than last year. The resale of lots, we were at 204,000 in 2017. We're now at 804,000 in 2021. And assessments, $10.8 million in 2021, $8 million in 2017, and 658 better than last year. So just an amazing year. So at each meeting, I've tried to kind of partner with one of the directors. And this meeting, I asked Kim to help me, and her marketing team did an outstanding job at putting together kind of a review of 2021. So I'd like to share that with you.
David. I'm in member services here at the POA. I've been with the POA about 10 years now. Currently I'm in charge of making sure we get all the boat slips and the racks leased, all the boats stickered up for the year, and everything else we do in member services. We've got a great team of people that take care of those things. In 2021, we had a huge increase in ID cards. The activity card went up significantly along with guest cards, and also boat stickers, primarily the kayaks. So we had a huge increase last year, and we're looking forward to 2022. Okay.
Hi, I'm Brian King. I'm in the meter department. I'm the lead meter technician for Bella Vista POA. We are responsible for gathering all the reads for the water department. We have an app called Eye on Water app for the customer. In 2021, we saw an increase in people using the app, and they like that everything that they see is the same thing that the meter technician sees. So we're able to stay on the same page with that. So got a lot of information on there for them.
Hi, I'm Tara. I'm the lead bartender out here at Highlands Pub and Patio. If you haven't met me, you need to come out here and see us. We are a little community within a big community. We've got a great patio, a game room, and we have lots of specials. We have happy hour every day, 3 to 6, a happy hour Thursday and Sunday all day. We do dinner specials, and we have all kinds of great things and great people. You've got to come meet us.
Hi, my name's Scott Garrison. I'm our POA HVAC technician. As part of the maintenance and construction division, it was an incredible year with a huge number of project requests that we had. A few of those projects that we completed in 2021 were the remodel of the Highlands Clubhouse, the Metfield Golf Course irrigation station reconstruction, the Branchwood pickleball courts, and the Gear Garden at Blowing Springs. The teams here at MAC completed 40 of the 42 project requests despite the adversity of operating during a pandemic, and we're eagerly looking forward to having an even better year in 2022.
I'm Jeff Jervis. This is my wife, Natalie. We're residents of the Highlands. Pickleball is one of those things that we love to get out in the sunshine when we can. Pickleball is a way for the two of us to get on the court, run around, get a little sweaty. There's a lot of room in the back court. Spend a lot of time back here. There's room between the courts. It's just a great place to come out and get a workout when we want to get out and run if we're not playing golf.
Hi, I'm Tim. I work at the Cart Barn and as a starter here at Highlands Golf Course, and just here to talk about our range balls and just the tremendous use they've gotten under the 2020 plan. My understanding is in 2021 we had over 60,000 buckets of range balls that were hit between the various sites here in Bella Vista, and yeah, it's just been awesome. We've had full range of golfers who come and use it. Some, you know, obviously serious golfers who are there to improve their game, but we also get people who obviously, you know, haven't played as much and they're just here to learn. And then we get some families out, you know, mom, dad, and kids, or grandparents and kids, just kind of coming out to learn. So I think it's been a huge success, and introducing people to the game, and yeah, getting people out.
Hello, my name is Gary Shepard. I'm a maintenance technician here at the Highlands Golf Course in Bella Vista. Greg Jones is my superintendent. 2021 has been challenging with the COVID scare. We've had several out here, and we have one currently out. But we're getting through it. We'll be back stronger than ever this next season.
I'm Pat Harper. I've been with the POA for a little over 32 years, starting on my 33rd year. I started out with the POA in food and beverage part-time. as the food and beverage controller's assistant. And then I stayed with food and beverage until the decision was made that the POA would lease out the food and beverage facilities. And then I was given the position in accounting, and I've been there ever since. I've been asked many times, you know, why have you been with the POA so long? Basically, it's the people that I work with. We have a good team here in accounting. I have good bosses, and I enjoy the work that I do, and I enjoy the people that I work with. We've seen, in 2021, we've seen a lot of new faces in accounting. We had to say goodbye to some of our old familiar ones, but we're looking forward to the opportunities and the new challenges for 2022.
Very nice, very nice.
So I've had several people ask me what I paid Pat to do that. No, I didn't pay her anything, but anyway. So anyway, just want to thank you guys all for all your support in 2021. I know everybody has said that. We couldn't do it without you guys. So anyway, looking forward to 2022.
Thank you, Stacy. Good news for everybody. Things are going good even in a pandemic. It's just amazing. That's the financial reports. Next up is the open forum. This is the time when property owners can address the board. Is there anybody here? I see nobody signed up. Is there anybody here who would like to address the board at this time? Okay, go ahead.
My name's Tony Christie. I live at 26 Tavistock. Concerning, I believe it's on the agenda tonight, the trail proposal for the canyon off of Tavistock. I was able to contact most of my neighbors about attending tonight's meeting. 2 households are in Florida, which, by the way, is about 5 degrees warmer than us right now. So 5 households are experiencing COVID, so they're staying home. All of the neighbors I've talked to would like to see this happen. There's only one that said no, they didn't want it, and that house is on Oldham and can be avoided and will not even be able to see the trail from their home. This trail will connect our neighborhoods to the restaurants and shops at Cunningham Corner, as well as connect us to a network of existing trails. I walk many of the trails in Bella Vista, Bentonville, and Rogers, and when walking the trails around Crystal Bridges Museum, I often see deer grazing, completely ignoring the many people walking, jogging, and biking by. Our trail will have a fraction of 1% of the Crystal Bridges trail traffic. There will be 0 impact on the wildlife and will actually allow us to better enjoy the deer living in our neighborhood. This canyon is very dense woods. Only in the winter, when the leaves are gone, can you see the lights of the homes on the other side. In the summer, you can see no lights. This trail won't even be noticeable to most homes along the proposed path any time of the year. Being down in the canyon, it's literally 40 or 50 feet below the plane of our home. The Northwest Arkansas Trailblazers will plant a screen of pine trees in between the homes and the trail in the narrow pinch points, ensuring their privacy. So I'm just asking to vote yes on this and to help us improve our neighborhoods and make them more walkable and allowing us to walk to lunch or dinner down at Cunningham Corner. Thanks.
Thank you. We had 2 sent in for Corinne. Excuse me. We had 2 sent in. Corinne will read those emails at this time.
The first letter I have is from Aaron Rushing, who is the CEO of the Trailblazers and Ethic, to the POA board. The Trailblazers strongly support connector trails within the Bella Vista trail systems, including funding to such projects like these. As you are aware, Bella Vista has very few sidewalks, and by adding small connector trails connecting to the primary trails will not only benefit accessibility to the residents, it will also encourage users to be more active and use the trails that are near their homes, that are not as easily accessible currently. The connector trail being proposed will be a great opportunity for residents to be able to ride or walk to the Cunningham Corner retail center without having to use their vehicle, therefore relieving traffic on the roads. Thank you for your consideration and for supporting future trail development. The second email is from Sebastian and Caitlin Soto, who live on 12 Tavistock Drive. To the POA board, I'm hoping this email reaches you well. I wanted to write you an email to express my full support for the Tavistock Trail. As you know, with Bella Vista not having sidewalks, if my wife and I want to walk our dogs from our house, we are limited to walking our street and Halifax, only as it would be too dangerous walking on Oldham Drive. So without being able to use Oldham Drive for walks, if my wife and I want to walk for anything longer than 15 minutes, we either have to drive somewhere or walk our two street neighborhood over and over. Having this trail connect our neighborhoods to the Cunningham Corner will be so beneficial to everyone living in the neighborhood by allowing us to visit the nearby businesses, but it will let us do so while also enjoying the beautiful nature that makes Bella Vista such a wonderful place to live in. Having watched the presentation, my wife and I could not find any reason why this trail would be anything but good to Bella Vista and to our neighborhoods. The idea of having this in our backyards is very exciting to us, and the overwhelming support from everyone that lives in this area should make that more than evident. I hope you and the board can take this into consideration during the afternoon's vote. Lastly, due to the unfortunate circumstances of my wife having been diagnosed yesterday with COVID, we are unable to attend the meeting in person, and we are wondering if it is possible for us to join the meeting virtually, and then just goes on to say that they are in support of the trail. And that's the 2 letters.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? We have one.
My name is Terry Tomlin. I live at 24 Tavistock, and I just want to echo what was said in both those emails and what Tony had to say. The trails would be very beneficial to our neighborhood, and I'm in full support of it. I see no negatives at all. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more to make comments, we will move on, and as it happens, the next item of business is that trail proposal. Tom?
This presentation was put together by Mr. Christie, and I've agreed to cover it for him. We covered this last week, but this proposed trail is at Tavistock and Leesbury. And here is a map of the area. You can see in the top right-hand corner, that's where Cunningham Corner is. Just to give you kind of a little orientation. The trail that is shown in red, that is the existing trail. The trail that's shown in yellow is the proposed trail, but always keep in mind that a proposed trail and where it actually ends up being different, because they will adjust the routing of the trail based upon topography, trees, and so forth. But it's a pretty good representation. The smaller lines, the smaller yellow lines, are the topography, and every yellow line is a 10-foot increment, so you can tell when it gets more and more yellow towards the right-hand side of the map. That's a very steep area next to the highway. So it just kind of gives you an idea that this is a pretty steep canyon that the trail would go between. The proposed trail will be accessible to 31 homes. It'll be approximately 4,200 feet in length, and will be accessible to Cunningham Corner by foot and by bike. When Mr. Christie brought this to my attention, because this is truly a grassroots effort, this was not brought up, the neighborhood came up with this on their own. And so I asked Mr. Christie to speak with his neighbors, and as he indicated earlier, he went out and spoke with everybody. There was one property owner that was concerned, but the trail can be routed in such a way that wouldn't have a negative impact for that property owner. But you'll see all those little X marks on this slideshow are the homes that he was able to speak with. This will be a natural trail, and like what they always do is they, when they go through and they're cutting in a trail, they try and make sure that they avoid mature trees, try and have as minimal impact as possible on the nature. And wanted to emphasize that Aaron Rushing, now Corinne read this email earlier, but Aaron is in support, and most importantly is in financial support of it, and there would be no cost to the POA for the construction of the trail, and no cost to the POA for a minimum of 3 years. And that 3-year period is always important. It was an important promise that was made by the board years ago, but also what we found is when we incur the highest amount of costs early on when a trail is new, because that's when we get rainstorms, and that's when we find out, oh, we need to adjust this. And that's within the 3-year period. It's not like a car that after 5-year warranty, they always break down, and in the 6 months after the warranty has expired. In this case, the issues typically come up in the first 3 years, so that 3-year cap on expenses really turns out to be very good for us. And as Mr. Christie indicated, this is supported by the majority of his neighbors, and that is the extent of the presentation. Any questions?
I have one question. How will the neighborhood access the trail? If it's got that much of a valley, it won't be from their backyards for many of them. So is it hoping that they'll just go to the connector at the road and go from there?
It's gonna dead end at, oh, of course I can't pull it up quickly. It's gonna dead end here. This cuts off at the very bottom, but this here is Oldham right here, so it will end right at Oldham.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I guess I have one. If you can go to the map that looked like football plays with X's. Yes, that one. The red mark on this one is the existing trail. Is that correct? Off to the
yes,
above
that is correct.
So was there any thought of maybe doing a trail that would just connect to the existing trail there instead of going all the way down to the corner as a separate trail? Because this would actually go down to where we're proposing to have that new tunnel. Is that not correct?
I can answer that question.
Okay.
At the bottom of the map, or as you're looking at it, at the bottom close to Oldham, Oldham is a very busy street. It's a drive, it's not a road. It maybe should be designated as a road because there's a lot of traffic on it. And that's some hills and curves to get from the green line up around the corner to the red line. That would be a bad place to try to ride your bicycle. And the red line there, it shows that it goes straight, but right at the top there, it's one of those areas where the lines on the map are very close together, and it's just switchbacks to get up the last little portion of the hill, and then it crosses Oldham right there and continues on over toward the London Water Tower. So that's not a dead end path. It goes on, and you can access Tweety Bird if you keep going.
But from Tavistock over to the existing trail is
Between
not
the two
practical.
is there's no place to put a trail.
Okay.
And it would make people ride on the road, which the speed that the people come down that hill wouldn't be a good situation. They come zipping down there pretty good, don't they, Tony? Yeah.
I got the map up here.
Guardrail, by the way, that's saved a lot of people going over
Okay.
So this is the area talking about, and when I add contours,
Here's the switchback.
you'll see it, once again, when the lines get closer together, that means it's steeper.
Yeah, so there's a substantial hill to climb right here, which means people are going slow. Bicycles would be going slowly on a hill. Not good. And there's no shoulders. So.
Well, that isn't exactly what I was asking. If you can zoom back out a little bit more.
Got it?
I'm talking about from a point at Tavistock, like where that, before it ever gets to Oldham, where that curve is, can you cut across to move your cursor up to in Tavistock? See
Right.
Go to the curve, keep coming down, right there. Is there any common property where there's?
No.
Okay, so there's the next closest is Oldham for common?
Yeah,
Okay.
this is, that is owned by
Gotcha.
an individual, owned by the homeowner owns that empty lot and so forth, so those are all.
Okay, you answered. I think I just didn't ask it the right way.
That's
Thank
all right.
you.
No problem.
No,
I
but to
have
your
a
point, in the
question.
event that this wasn't approved, there's potential for the neighborhood to work with that one property owner and see if they want to do a connector trail through their property. That's a homey thing. Now, one of the things that rings the truest to me about this is the sidewalks. Oh, that guy, okay. I wish those guys didn't speak so loud back there. It's pretty distracting. One of the great elements about the trail system is it's the supplement for not having the sidewalks. And they make a really good point about that. We spoke the previous 2 sessions about this, about it's not necessarily new trail, but connections to the master trail that were missing in the first agreements. The first 100 miles went in and it really didn't have enough neighborhoods connected to it. It was close to it, but it's like examples like this. Well, if you want to go up Oldham and come down and take your life up on that road, you can, as the crow flies, get to it. But the connection to more households is going to be an on and above again need as we continue to bring the amenity to more people. And I think it's clear that all the property owners have really benefited from a trail in their backyard, not necessarily financially, but many have. As they've sold their houses, it's added an increase to the value of their homes, but just through their own personal usage of it, the quality of life is that much greater when you can access an amenity like that. So I'm all for it.
Before we go any further, I've been neglectful. We should have a motion before we do any discussion. So will someone make a motion for this? Who would like to do that?
It's on page 9 of your board packet.
10.
I think Jan had she's making the motion. No, I think she had.
Somebody want to make the
I
motion?
do, but do you want a motion first?
Yes, please.
I've got one on page 10. Is that
All right, David, I'll make a motion to approve the addition to the connector trail at Tavistock Drive and Lesbury Lane.
Lesbury.
This trail will be developed in partnership with the city of Bella Vista and the Trailblazers, and with the understanding there will be no increase in cost to the POA
For 3 years.
Thank you, Jerry. A second on that?
I'll second that.
JB seconds that. Okay, now, we're open for discussion.
My question is about what information the homeowners were given when they were asked to approve the trail. I've written into the board, so the board is aware that I have a friend who has a house that comes close to where the yellow trail does the zigzag. It's fairly close to Oldham. And this person is, upon looking at the map, was very concerned about the how close the trail would come to the back of her property. On the back of her property is a sunroom that is all glass on the back, and she is a single lady, and she is also out of town at the moment, so she couldn't attend the meeting. So I guess my question is, were the homeowners shown the map and how it would affect their property before they said, yes, they want the trail?
Okay, Jan, I think I can answer some of your questions. As we know from past experience with the Trailblazers, these questions arise every time a trail is proposed. The line on the map that we've seen on the board here tonight is just a line on the map. It's not really anything set in stone or design, anything like that. As Tom referenced earlier, when the Trailblazers hire a company to do the construction, part of that is to contact homeowners where the trail gets close to make sure that the homeowners are okay with it, and frequently trails are rerouted to get them away from properties where people are not particularly happy to have the trail at their back door, if you want to phrase it that way. And also, the trails are put in engineered so that they don't erode first, so that they're solid and they last for a long time, but they're also put in to go along with Mother Nature and the way that the land is laid out to provide a good riding experience or walking experience. So the trails seem to wander about in the woods. So the line that your friend saw and felt that may be where the trail was going to be is probably not where the trail is going to end up. That's a partial answer to your question. Tony has, step to the mic, please.
Also, in talking with Aaron, they plant pine trees and shrubberies for anyone who is overly concerned about their privacy. So the way I understand it, they go over and above and beyond with that.
Yes, that's my experience has been that they do handle these questions as the trail is constructed, and after the fact, I'm not aware of any problems. They try to work them out on the front end. So I hope that answers your question, Jan. Any other comments, questions?
I just have a statement. You know, as I stated before, I think that this sets a very dangerous precedent. You know, if you approve this, then are you going to approve I mean, you can call it what you want. It's still almost another mile worth of trail that's being built. And many of the property owners feel that 100 miles of soft trails is enough. So I don't understand how you can say that we're not setting a precedent if we approve this.
Any other comments? Jan?
I just would like to reiterate what Mike pointed out, and that is that we have a network of existing trails, but what would make them even better for our members is to allow them access with connectivity. And I think the difference for me is the connectivity to our existing trails that really enhances that amenity for our neighborhood. Here's a neighborhood that has looked at this, has been contacted from a grassroots effort, and has determined that this is going to make life better and for them to be able to enjoy the trail system as it exists. It seems to me that there'd be nothing wrong if another neighborhood found that they could perhaps have more access and more connectivity to the existing trails and enjoy them more if they had a grassroots effort. So I don't see an issue with it. I see that it's actually a wonderful thing, and there might be other neighborhoods that would like to follow this as a lead And since there is no cost, and that, as Tom mentioned, it's covered in terms of 3 years in terms of any kinds of issues that would develop by having this trail. Just like the car, the first 3 years is when you have the problems under warranty and you get those fixed. That's kind of how this would work. So I see it as a good thing, and it doesn't bother me that other neighborhoods might want to look at being able to access the trails with more connectivity. I think that would be wonderful if the community wanted to do that. Thank you.
I guess you could say that the neighborhood is asking the POA board for an additional amenity. And, you know, it's no cost to us. I like the idea. Jerry?
Well, I'm gonna reiterate what Jan said. If a neighborhood does its due diligence and they get out there and talk to the people and poll the people, and the majority of that community wants the trails, then I have no issue with something like this. And it could jump from neighborhood to neighborhood. This is not what we're talking about, expanding, going past what they call the center trails. They're just, it's not that. It's not going all the way out to the Highlands. But if a community wants the majority, I'm all for it.
Okay. Jackie?
Make one more comment that I just appreciate the effort that you took and made a great presentation and did a lot of legwork and got a lot of buy-in from the neighbors and got a lot of buy-in from the Trailblazers. And I appreciate that effort. I think that was just very commendable. And if I lived here, I'd be super excited and would want it too. So just commend you on the effort that you made for that.
JB?
Just one more thing. I'm kind of saying what everybody else was saying here, but each presentation such as this comes to the board on its own, and we would look at each one individually. So the cool thing is, we didn't come up with this. They did. I think that's awesome. I'm for this.
Okay.
I'll give you one more on precedent there. I hear Sandy 100% on, you know, how do we continue to evolve the amenities in a way that doesn't make it seem like a free-for-all for things, and that there's, you know, more development than regulation. And she's been a stalwart on making sure we have a true north on that, and I appreciate that. And when I look at a scenario base like this, I feel like we can always, on an ad hoc basis, make those decisions in the best manner we can. And if there's an overwhelming percentage of the neighborhood that's in favor for it, I think we listen to that. When I hear precedent, I almost hear it, instead of dangerous, I hear it as good, because hopefully this can add as a template to a lot of other neighborhoods on how to engage with the amenity base, whether it's a trail system or it's another amenity here in the village that people want to have easier access to, or may be able to find a way to come together at a neighborhood basis. I mean, we're a POA, but many of our neighborhoods have almost their own HOA inside of them. And so seeing this come through is just is a positive to show the direction that people want to reach out and actually work together.
Okay. We've had a chance to talk. I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor of the suggested motion signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I oppose. This is Sandy.
7-2.
Tia, I just want to confirm you said aye.
She did.
Yes, sir. Aye.
Thank you.
Sandy Posdick and Janice Sims voted no. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of corporate officers, something that the state requires us to do every year, even though it's the same people. This year, we have Tom Judson, President, Doug McCash, Vice President, Corinne Marin, Secretary, Stacy, Treasurer, and Roxy Goins as Assistant Secretary. So if we could have a motion along those lines. Mike?
I make a motion to appoint Tom Judson as president, Doug McCash as vice president, Corinne Marin as secretary, and Roxy Goins as assistant secretary, and Stacy Higgins as treasurer.
Thank you. Second by Jerry. Okay, got to keep the state happy. I don't see any discussion on this. All in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Him being the
And
president
Ian?
of Warren.
I think I heard her say yes.
Did Tia say yes?
I think I heard her
Yes,
say
aye.
That's 9 unanimous, as it should be. Next item on the agenda are nominations referenced earlier by Chris Stockman for positions on the Recreation Joint Advisory Committee. Do we have a motion for those two candidates?
I make a motion to approve the nomination of Kathleen Coughlin for the rec committee. And do we do them both together or just one?
No,
Okay.
one at a time.
One at a
Kathleen's
time.
mine.
One at a time.
She's mine.
Jackie seconds that. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. And motion on the second candidate. Jan?
I make a motion to approve the nomination of Cindy Thompson for the Recreation Committee.
Thank you. Jerry Barron seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous. Moving right along. Okay, next up is capital project. I'm gonna let Tom handle this one.
So we had a boat motor in the 22 budget, in the operating budget, and it was for under $10,000. We thought the entire purchase was going to come in under the $10,000 capital threshold. We were under the impression that we would not have to pay sales tax on it because a person pays sales tax when they rent the boat, but we were notified that that was not the case. And so the pre-tax number was $9,633. The after-tax number was $10,548. So since it's over the $10,000 threshold, we are asking the board to make this a capital project. We will not spend the $10,000 that will be unused in the operating budget, so there will be no negative impact to our 22 budget. And something that we also mentioned at the work session is the Rules and Regulations Committee is talking about, well, they're reviewing all of the policies, and that may be a policy we want to consider upping that threshold, maybe to 20,000 or something of that nature. We're a $32 million a year company, and $10,000 is just a little bit light. Yeah. But that's the policy that's in place right now. So we're asking the board to do that. And that's it.
Okay, can I have a motion to that effect? Mike?
I make a motion to approve the capital expenditure of $10,548 for a new motor, with the understanding that the $10,000 in the 2022 operating budget will go unused.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
JB seconds that. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimously approved. That brings us to the part that everybody's been waiting for. The 2021 member survey results.
Yes.
Now, you got this down to about a 3-minute presentation, I would assume. Maybe I made an incorrect assumption. Tom, tell us what the members had on their minds.
Not unless you bring in an auctioneer that can speak super fast. So these are the results of the survey and the focus groups, and all this information is available on our website, on the POA's website. First of all, we had over 12,000 survey results, and we had 4 focus groups, and so I'm going to go through each of those. So here, the first survey question was really a filtering question. We wanted to make sure that we only had POA property owners answering the question. Now, keep in mind that for the electronic surveys that were sent out, we got those email addresses from our database. And for the ones that we mailed out, we got those mailing addresses from our database. So, and you could not transfer, you couldn't take the survey and send it over to your buddy who doesn't live in Bella Vista, because it wouldn't allow you to do that. So 99% were members, a few were not, potentially they moved, who knows what happened. And since this was a filtering question, if they answered no, they were not a member, you immediately exited the survey, so your survey was not heard. We then asked them, well, what kind of member are you? Is this your primary residence, secondary? Is this a vacation rental that you own? Is it a long-term rental, or is it an unimproved lot? And we asked them to mark it off, and you'll see that approximately 61% were primary, and then 32% were unimproved lot owners. Keep in mind, they could have answered multiple. I own 2 lots. I own the empty lot next to mine, so I answered for both categories. So there's a little bit of crossover, but the majority of them, Bella Vista was their primary residence. We then asked them to talk about their household and were they, did they have a lot of kids? Were they single? Were the kids grown and empty nesters, and the kids were gone? And you'll see that the majority of them are couples with the kids gone. So you can actually look at the raw numbers once again on our website. We also asked what age they were. And you'll see that it actually sways or leans heavily towards the elder population. You'll see that the largest line on the bar chart was between 65 and 74. Now this is going to be different than the census, because remember, we're only sending this to the primary property owner and the secondary, so the kids aren't answering this, as opposed to a census where the kids are accounted for. But you can see a leaning towards an older demographic answering this, and unfortunately sometimes it's a challenge to get the younger people that are busy with football and soccer and dance and everything else to get them to answer such surveys. We then asked them some detailed customer service questions, and we wanted to get an idea of what their thoughts were regarding our service level. Now, I kind of consider this question a great one for the next time we do this survey, so that we'll have this establishes a baseline, and then when we do a survey a couple years from now, this will allow us to gauge it. But you see the majority of people, so in blue are the people that considered us good to excellent, and then the yellow is fair to less. And you see that we did pretty good across the board. The only one that we didn't do very well on, and I don't think that's much of a surprise, is at Reardon Hall. And so, the community is clearly stating that there's an issue there. We then asked them if they used an amenity even one time during the year to mark it off. Now, if you played, let's say David plays a lot of golf, but you still would only mark it off once. And we asked them to mark off all the amenities. And this gives us a great idea, of how our members are using our amenities, and see the top 5 restaurants very high, lake use very high, trails walking, golf, trails hiking, the driving ranges. Those were all very, very high usage. I was very pleased, and with Tommy's results today with the F&B, this is showing this is consistent, because the restaurants were over 1,000 higher than the next nearest one. But also on the far end of the other side, you can see that our softball field is not at Loch Lomond is not being used a lot. The billiards table will have a very strong but very small contingent and so forth. So you have to, you know, and then everything in between. So an interesting thing to look at. We also asked them what they, where improvements needed to be added, improved, and expanded. And quite frankly, I think this question was poorly written, and since I wrote it, I can say that very clearly and not offend anybody.
We're agreeing with you.
We're agreeing with you. Not so quickly there, Mike. But I think it was, did a person mark off because they wanted the restaurants to be improved because
Which of these three
because the customer service wasn't good, or because they want more restaurants? And so I think in retrospect, this was not well worded. So take it for what it's worth. We then
Hey, Tom, to that for a second. It's funny because my dad went up to the Loch Lomond Dam to the dog park a couple days ago, and I was like, oh yeah, you can kind of park over by the baseball diamond. And I was like, yeah, that old baseball diamond doesn't get any use. He goes, there's a big group out here right now. And I got to thinking about the survey results, because that's why I had said that. And I know that we'd seen that the age ranges had skewed lower in that. And I thought, I don't know how many baseball coaches are 65 to 74 anymore. And I'm thinking about the growing youth of Bella Vista, and that we don't have a boys and girls club here. We don't have many of the other things that are, directly catered to those age ranges. And something tells me that something like the softball/baseball thing is actually used much more than we know, and it's a key facilitator for people to actually be able to teach and do many of the elements that we take for granted in the larger cities. And so, although it's data's data, and we only had 108 and 77 in terms of baseball for this example, there was a January example of a full diamond out there, and most likely they probably didn't fill out, or whoever there would have, because how many people used the diamond at once? 9 people? Well, none of those kids got that survey result.
Yeah.
So not all amenities are the same. So just for whatever it's worth.
Yeah.
Well, and also the tennis. Tennis is, I was on already, I'm sorry, but the tennis is much more popular than it shows here.
Yeah.
So.
And always remember, stats, you can get whatever information you want out of the stats, so you can slant it, but it gives you a good idea of what's being used the most and what's not being used quite as much, and sometimes the board has to make tough decisions, and this can potentially help that. We then asked them the respondents to give us comments, and we actually fielded 4,000 comments, which were I think
a third of the survey results gave you a comment.
Correct. Now, keep in mind, if you look at those, about half of them, that's roughly, once again, it's that 3-legged stool they were talking about. I think they need to do something about, that's something covered by the city or the ACC or the wastewater or something like that. So but that does tell us is we need to continue to beat that drum. JB with her show is trying to get that information out, but we constantly need to beat that drum, because so many of the comments, I'm like, oh, that's not us, that's the city. Oh, that's the, so forth. But what we did do, to the best of our ability, because it was very hard to go through all 4,000, and sometimes they made comments, in one paragraph they'd make 15 comments, so that was tough. But these were the top ones. Is they want more restaurants. Clearly, they want more restaurants. Some of them didn't even know about what we were doing at Highlands. Interesting, more trails, but there's a question later on that talks about not as many trails. So that was interesting. Metfield mini golf, more playgrounds. What was particularly interesting about playgrounds was not just playgrounds, but more younger playgrounds, because you can really divide those up into different age segments, and that was important. But slanted more towards the very young, like 5 to 7, and 24 axis on the fitness center, splash pad, and so forth. So you can read all 4,000 comments. They're all in alpha. We put them in alpha order to try and give you some sort of sort. But all 131 pages is on our website right now. We then went and asked everybody if we were going to go for a $3 increase, and our assessments remained the same for 3 additional years. What is your thoughts on that? So this would be for improved properties only, and 40% were in favor. So when I first saw that, I was a little distressed. Oh, I was hoping it was higher, over 50%. But I ended up speaking with a person that actually works in this industry, and he goes, wow, you asked a 1-paragraph question and you got 40% in favor of spending more money. He goes, outstanding. That's really good. And when I show you the focus group questions or responses in just a moment, you'll see that we were at 60%. So I was actually, after that conversation, just very encouraged. It does show that we need to educate and have a full campaign in order to get that accomplished, which is what we had to do for the 2020. We then talked about Reardon Hall. So if we're going to renovate this space, what is most important? And on the contrary, what is least important? Because if we're staying within the confines of that building, and for example, expanding the club and group space and the fitness, which was at 32%, if we're going to expand the fitness area and we only have a set amount of square footage, well, if you add one place, then you have to subtract somewhere else. And so performance stages at the bottom did not fare as well. And so that gives you the idea, okay, if we're going to make these changes, we may have to steal square footage from one area to give it to another area. And so this gives you the information on that. And then the next question was, were more trails needed? And so what we did was we divided the trails into 3 segments: hiking, walking, and biking. And you'll see that the majority of our property owners felt that the hiking and biking, that we're at 100 miles and we're doing pretty good, meaning they didn't really feel that we needed to add additional trails, or at least not now. But when it came to walking, it was closer to a 50-50. And so I think it's something that we need to think about. In the focus groups, a lot of the property owners that attended were not aware of the work that was going to be done at Birksdale West or at Rillington, which both are flat trail initiatives that the board has already approved. But it does tell us that what was referenced earlier about the potential of expanding the trails on the west side. The community is saying maybe not now.
Yeah, Tom, looking at that and then comparing it to the age ranges who took the majority of the survey, well, it makes complete sense that walking would be there. 65 to 74 are probably aging out of cycling and hiking as much, I would assume. But one of the things that I see out of the walking trails, and maybe this wasn't kind of properly there, is the Razorback Greenway extension from Metfield, I believe, is a huge boon to being able to walk. Yes. And I primarily see walkers on it, and it's become a stroller alley as well. I mean, as the Greenway continues to think about inching further up, some of this data can help inform what that looks like. Because the walking trail, I think it's kind of soft surfaced, hard surface too. Mm-hmm. This could have been easily switched with some wordplay, mm-hmm. and we'd probably have even more information. I know we're going to continue throughout the survey results here, but the 12,000 people that I feel like we can continue to poll our community, not that on a regular cadence, honestly, mm-hmm. and I think we've proved that we can do this in-house at a pretty cost-effective measure. and continue to get a tap on people as they become more used to getting surveys from us. I really appreciate all the 12,000 members. If any of them are listening, continue to give us feedback.
Well, I think what's interesting on this is if you look back at the comments, trails were very high on the comments. And if you look back on the slide about utilization, you'll see that trails were 2 of the top 10. And so when you look at the question, I wonder how it would have fared if we had said, are more golf courses needed, or more tennis courts were needed. I wonder how we would have fared, you know. So I think we have to be, you know, we have to take the information for what it's worth, but we also need to make sure that we don't leap too far forward with it. Because if we had asked if more golf courses are needed, I don't know how it would have fared any different, but golf courses are highly used. So next, so we had 4 focus group meetings. I think we had about 120 in attendance in total, so much smaller than compared to the survey results. But keep in mind that a survey, you're looking for quantity, where the focus group, you're looking for quality, and you know, the quality of the comments and more in-depth discussions and so forth. And you'll see the mentions. So identify the strengths of Bella Vista, and so Corinne was the one that had to go through and sort through all those. We kept all those sheets, and she did a great job of sorting through it all. And you'll see that the diversity of our amenities was really the key. And nature and so forth. That's why people really love Bella Vista, is the diversity. But you'll also see value for your money. We know that at $37 a month for our assessments, that's very affordable. And great customer service was also listed. Then we asked the opposite, and asked them for the weaknesses and the 3-legged stool. This, in the focus groups, this came up over and over again. The confusion. People would make comments, and we go, "Oh, that's the city. Oh, that's ACC." So, to me, it really drove home that we need to continue to beat that drum. And then you'll see everything else was a 4. Only came up a few times. But youth programs came up a lot. It's only listed 4, but there's a lot of discussion. It would come up, and they would discuss it a lot. So youth, bringing more services and programs for our youth is another thing that was clearly learned from this effort. And the next one is improvements. Where do we need to make improvements? No surprise, Reardon Hall. Boy, I mean, just and the meetings were held at Reardon, so you could see it yourself. And then Branchwood. Branchwood surprised me a little bit on there, but that's another facility where we renovated and upgraded and expanded that facility, and we're going to have to expand again at some point because of usage. And then hours of operation, you know, having longer hours at the amenities, at the fitness facilities. That's something that we've heard that a lot, and so forth. And then pickleball courts, and really the board is, in my opinion, has addressed that. We're going to have, you know, by summertime, we're going to have 10 pickleball courts, which is, last year at this time we had, 3, and then we were using the tennis courts. So we're going to be, in my opinion, that problem is, I don't want to say solved, but we're doing much better. And then what new services and facilities are important, and you know, indoor walking, indoor pools came up a lot, walking trails, steam room, indoor play area for kids, climbing wall, and so forth. So that was more camping came up, and then this was a hard one. putting the attendees in the position of the board, and sometimes the board has to make really hard decisions. And if we were to eliminate or repurpose something, so I kind of go back to Branchwood. Branchwood was a failed golf course that was repurposed, and now the walking trail and the disc golf course, we had to expand the parking lot a couple years ago because it's being used so much. So that was a repurposing that, in my opinion, was a huge success. Now, not everybody will agree with that comment, but in my opinion, it was a huge success. So staying relevant is important for a community. And so they talked about Burksdale. Unfortunately, a lot of people in attendance were not aware of the improvements that were going to be made, soon going to be made at Burksdale. Reardon Hall came up again, and so forth. So a couple different things. Highlands, unfortunately, it was news to the people that we were putting in a pizza kitchen. They were like, oh, okay, well, you've solved our problem. So unfortunately, not everybody watches the board meetings, and so doesn't always stay current and doesn't always read our newsletters to stay current on things. Then we asked them, okay, if we're going to renovate Reardon Hall, what's important, what stays, and what goes? And this was a tough question for those in attendance. They really had wow. It's easy to talk about what's going to stay, but it's not so easy to talk about what's going to go, because that's a hard decision, and you're inherently going to upset some people where it is important to them. But fitness came out just like in the survey results. Fitness was on top. The auditorium having a large meeting space. Here, this is interesting. 5 mentions on stage being important and staying, but on the other side, what goes, 9 mentions of it going. So you had vying groups and so forth. Same thing with the kitchen. The kitchen was listed as staying. 3 mentions on the stay side and 3 mentions on the go side. So fairly interesting. But what I got from this is fitness is number one. More fitness. That is a small fitness center. It's not a sufficient size. That's important. That's what we kept on hearing. We then asked everybody about if additional trails were needed. And on the walking side, it was 84% in favor and 15% against. And then on the hiking side, it was only 33% in favor and 64% against. So once again, kind of the same message that we're hearing. I think we got to be careful with this and how we apply this information. But expand a large expansion of our trails, maybe not right now, at least not at this point. And then what we did was we asked them, by and large, the same question regarding a $3 increase to keep all of our amenity fees the exact same. So the fees would be the exact same for 6 straight years. And exact same question that was asked on the survey. And you'll see that it was almost 66%. And I think a lot of that is we were able to talk about it, and they were able to go, okay, I understand it fully, as opposed to just a single paragraph. So remember, the goal of doing this in the survey and the focus group is to develop a 5-year strategic plan. That's what the board wants to do. And 2 big issues that clearly came out of the whole thing is Reardon Hall and an assessment increase. And clearly on the assessment increase side, what we're trying to accomplish, what the feedback that I received is, let's not do these large increases, waiting 20 years and having a $13 increase. Let's wait a shorter amount of time and have a smaller increase that's more appetizing or appealing to people. And then here is the next step. Okay, so we got all this information, we've posted it to the website. What are we going to do with this information? A preliminary draft of the 5-year strategic plan will be developed by the management team. We talked about this previously. It's much easier to go in with information on a piece of paper as opposed to going to a group with a blank sheet of paper. Much more difficult. So we're going to put stuff together, the management team, and we're going to put a draft, keyword draft, and we're going to get that to the board by the end of April. And then the board talked about developing a strategic planning subcommittee that would work on this in conjunction with the management team, and they would develop a second draft of the plan by the end of July. And then the board as a whole would start working on it. I'm sorry. So the strategic planning subcommittee and the management team will present to the board as a whole that second draft in August. And then the board as a group will develop and make changes and so forth. So in August and September, the board will make those and further refine those changes to the 5-year strategic plan. But it's still in draft. See, it's final draft. And then it goes to the community in late September. And the board listens to the community. Do you like everything you saw? Are changes needed? What changes need to be made? And then finalize it so that it is finalized in November. This will allow us, because it's a 5-year plan, and 2023 is one of those years, we want to make sure that it's finalized so that we can incorporate it into the 23 budget. Because if we're going to be doing some projects, we want to make sure that that's incorporated into the 23 budget. So that's the next steps. And so you'll see that the community really won't hear much from the board on this 5-year strategic plan until September. And at that time, we'll seek input. We'll have a methodology where the community can provide us with their input, and we can make adjustments to the plan and then vote upon it in November and incorporate the budget into that. So that's the whole process. And once again, all this information is available on our website. All 4,000 comments, all the stats, everything is available. So if you don't agree with my analysis, you can do your own, because all the raw data is there.
Thank you, Tom.
That was that 3 minutes?
Sure. Oh, I never like to turn my mic on. So I might say something.
Dave, I'd like to make this one comment.
Go ahead.
I suspect many of us feel this, but we just want to thank your staff, you, Corinne. There's a lot of work that went into what you just presented, and to facilitate that. And a lot of us know, because we've done that kind of thing before, what that takes. And it does take a step above to pull it off. So thank you very much, and please thank your staff who is an important part of that.
I appreciate that.
And now the hard work starts. Have to do something with it and develop the 5-year plan. So that's why we're doing this. So anyway, I would encourage any members, if you're listening, go to the website and at least check out a couple pages of the comments. You can start anywhere you want, but there's going to be a lot of recurring things, page after page. And I think you will find, as Tom noted, roughly half of the comments pertain directly to us. About half of them are something that we can't do anything about, or it's not our job, or it's already been done. So you'll see that. Just pick a page and start reading. For myself, I read them all. It took a few hours, but I read them all. And the most interesting comment was the one that had, it was a one-word answer, jousting. That's the one that stuck in my head the most. So take it for what it's worth.
4,000 comments, and that's what you got out of it?
It was just, that's all this person said was jousting. So I didn't know that was an option, but anyway. So that brings us to the end of our regular monthly meeting. At this time, we're going to do the announcements. The Lakes JAC, Wednesday, February 9th at 2 p.m. here in the boardroom and live stream at 2 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, the Golf JAC will meet here in the boardroom and live stream. The Rules and Regulations Committee, as mentioned previously, they're always continually looking at our policies and procedures. Thursday, February 10th, 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. It is that is an open meeting. The Board of Directors GM meeting, Thursday, February 10th at 2:30, immediately following the Rules and Regs meeting here in the boardroom. This is a closed meeting. Recreation JAC is Monday, February 14th. That happens to be Valentine's Day for you guys who are challenged and forget that. 4 p.m. here in the boardroom and also live streamed. The next work session will be Thursday, February 17th at 9 a.m. in the morning here in the boardroom and live stream. And the Board of Directors regular session, Thursday, February 24th, 6 p.m. here in the boardroom and live stream. I thank you for your comments, your participation, your patience. Are there any final comments before I bring us to a close?
I would like to make one comment that we know that we receive emails every month, and I just appreciate that every member that asks a question gets a response. I think that that's very good. We had a few this month that were somewhat challenging, and they all got a response. And I just thank you and you for being the leadership that makes sure that happens. So
I think, that's part of one of the things that we can do. It's pointed out by this survey, the communication aspect, helping the membership understand how we work, how everything in our community works. So that's one of the things that, we try to do that, and it is a conscious effort to do that. So I appreciate it that you noticed that. So that being said, we are adjourned. Please turn off your microphones.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.